Now here's the deal. Here's the point of this whole thing tonight. About 8 years ago, I had some really good quiet time with God going for a while. And one of the things I was asking Him was, show me, God, just what it is I'm supposed to know to live my life as a Christian. How I'm supposed to live it the way Jesus said to do it. And as I'm studying through things, I came across a passage that we all know. And it's different variations of it in the Gospels, but in Matthew chapter 22. We read these stories about when Jesus is being attacked again and again by the Pharisees, trying to trap Him, asking Him these questions, trying to get Him to say something wrong so that they could take Him down. And this is when they were asking Him about the taxes thing and paying taxes to Caesar and all of those things. But right on the heels of that, these guys who are experts in religious law, like some of you, no, I'm just kidding, don't be offended. Experts in religious law asked Jesus, so what's the most important commandment? What is the most important commandment? And I'll tell you this, that when I realized what I was reading, now this is just me, I'm not a Bible expert by any means, but this is the way I read it. I think Jesus makes it as simple in this passage as He makes it anywhere else in Scripture about what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to live our lives. And it is, well, we'll just read it. One of them, an expert in religious law, tried to trap Him with this question, "Teacher, what is the most important commandment in the law of Moses?" And Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." And Jesus could stop there because it's the first and the greatest. But He didn't. You remember the old commercials? Was it Search that it was two mints in one? Remember that, older guys? Remember those commercials? That's kind of what Jesus did here. It's the first and greatest commandment, but hang on, there's more. There's a second one that's just as important as the first. And that second one is you are to love your neighbor as yourself. And then He finishes in verse 40 with this. He says, the entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. Now, that's significant. Because these Pharisees that were grilling Jesus had made their livelihood out of the fact that nobody could follow all the rules. 613 laws. By the way, Moses came down with 10. And all the rest of it was support laws, apparently. But what Jesus says is, in a nutshell, this is so simple, it's about relationships, not rules. There's two relationships you got to worry about. You got to worry about your relationship with God first and foremost. And if you're working on that one, and if you get that one right, then you're going to love everybody around you the way He loves them. Think about how great your life would be if you could do that. It'd be different, probably. Loving God, and that's what I say all the time, loving God is not the hard part. Sometimes loving the knuckleheads in the room with you is a little more difficult. But if we truly have a right relationship with God and can see other people through His eyes, it makes it a lot easier. If we're willing to see them, and maybe that's part of the problem sometimes. If we're willing to see them through His eyes, it makes life a little easier for us. Jesus didn't tell them anything new. He really told them what they should have already known, right? They're experts in these things. They should have already known it. It wasn't some just brand new idea. It wasn't some new age thinking. It wasn't even New Testament. That's how old it was. Jesus quoted from Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Old Testament. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And then He said, and if you will just do that, everything else will fall into place. You think about the 10 Commandments. Every one of those is about relationship. Every one of them is about relationship either with you and God or you and the people around you. Don't believe me? Read them tonight. Every one of them. Jesus says it's not about rules, it's about relationships. And like every other relationship that we have, sometimes we take things for granted. Sometimes we don't put in the effort 27 years in that we did at the beginning. So how's your thermometer? Could it stand some recalibration? I'm talking about your spiritual thermometer. You're in this room tonight and you are in that place in your relationship with God where you feel like He doesn't hear you. You don't hear Him. That you pray, but it's like nobody's home. Maybe you could use some recalibration.